Welcome guys back to the LCK. We're here once again after game 2 did not go the way of SK Telecom, and we're gonna come back a second time around with this post-match segment. And here once again with Sangun and Bitol. We saw the change in trend in terms of how the two teams reacted in the end. And now we're getting at the team fights, kind of deciding the outcome of the fights now and really deciding the outcome of the actual matches. And seems like that was a big difference in game 2. And it feels like you just can never expect one team to outdo another in a particular scenario anymore in esports. And we're going to see an example of that once again, where SK Telecom, they felt like they were going to win now game 2 after getting such a nice game 1 victory. Look at some of the videos here. And we felt like, what's this all meaningful in the end? And this is somewhere or the other getting away, and felt like there was an inch of difference there. And if we had seen that champion die out, that could have been a lot different for this team in terms of outcome. And now we're feeling like lots of being invested in trying to get these, especially right into the top split before that happens around. There's a lot that's invested from the other side of the defense, and you just have to be a lot more aware, a lot more careful than you used to in the previous metas. And this meta, it just seems like Pyrian surviving could have been such a big thing for SK Telecom, but just couldn't get it down that time around. And I'm trying to just put, what if, if something other things had happened that would have changed things for SK Telecom, but we are here just looking over what had gone down. And this was right around where Darius did go around with Atria. And seems like a water gun being brought out by ADD there with the Aatrox, but it just allows the connection with the Sejuani, obviously with the passive, and allows the melee attacks to build up the stacks, as you guys all know. And definitely, if we saw, basically, it was kind of looking at this a little more carefully, then he would have definitely known that the Sejuani would have been around the area. So it was a really important point where Derry was a little bit careless in the way that just a little bit of hints like that could have prompted a backwards movement, but just kept going forward as the Darius does, and Yondu was able to get that kill in the end very, very easily when the top laner feeds in just like that. And came the downfall of SK Telecom as the moments went by. Just feels like you can definitely keep this in mind if you guys are playing your casual players in solo queue and see a Sejuani in your opponent team. You definitely know when to step back when you see that passive proc for the melee. And that was a very interesting games though, very overall. In game 2 going now over towards MVP, gonna hear what the fans had to say. And people were feeling like the Sejuani was kind of the big turnaround in terms of how the picks really translated into the win for MVP. Just really allow the Sejuani to pull in for the initiates and also contribution into the big team fights, and putting the CC on and also providing the tank opportunities, and allowed a very nice win for MVP. And now we're going to get a one-line summary from Bitol with Sejuani now in the game, kind of being the difference here. Is there anything that you would like to say to that? It was a very good early game, but Sejuani team fight makes it Seju, which means strong, so in Korean. So there's our one-line summary right there, and I'm gonna throw it back to you guys for the rest of the segment.
Thank you very much, Joel.
If you listen closely, you can hear him die every time he has to translate the one-line summary.
I know.
Sick pun that there is.
I know, and it's going to be Yondu actually that picks up the MVP. Joel in our ear just says, "Save me." We're going to do our best, Joel. But Yondu, he did a great job. I mean, the early game, bit of a horror, to be honest. Stayed level 3 for a very, very long time. However, teamed up with ADD, and together, they were the Bash Bros that took down Tal over and over again.
And they executed the dives with the Aatrox really cleanly. It was good to see ADD once again putting more on himself. That's been my favorite thing about this season, is when you see players dominate solo queue, it doesn't always translate to the professional scene.
Yeah.
Cuvee took a long time to step up from top 10 challenger top laner to a carry top laner. And ADD has been a tank-only player forever, Atlas. It's almost like tanks
He's synonymous with
to
Sion.
stop them getting relegated. Cho'Gath and Sion, like you say. But now on Aatrox, now being a bit more aggressive, a bit more control, a bit more inviting himself to be the one. Good performance from him. Yondu came back, like you mentioned, and don't play against a lot of Sejuani in this meta. And it actually worked out pretty well for Yondu.
Yeah, I thought Max also played it out his mid lane very well.
But we had some crowd interaction with the Korean side. I did some crowd interaction, said, how many subs, guys? How many subs are we going to see for the next game? The answer not many people said was 0.
There is going to be none. It's going to be exactly the same roster. SKT, T1, T2.
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day once again. And in fact, it's Judgment Game as we're down to the final one. At a brilliant game one, they're going to be switching back to the blue side once again. So if they can repeat that performance, it will certainly be a good thing. And what is going to be the picks and bans this time around? Because we've seen very, very different games each time, but not different bans. The Yi once again going to be first ban here for SKT.
There it is, finally locked. Was hovered for a second, but never really in any doubt. Will we see any differing on the bans? I feel like Irelia bans are overplayed in this particular meta just because Irelia against no AD carry is kind of really being exposed. So the Irelia ban going to be skipped over for a moment. They saw ADD's Aatrox and they decided no more.
That's going to be banned as the second ban here for SKT in place of the Aurelia like you were talking about. She slipped all the way through the draft last time around, so no need to ban it out of the way. Vladimir, once again, going to be taken off the board.
Zoe and Swain were 2 remaining bans that could be returned to. I think the Swain power was undeniable on the side of MVP. And
I think that the Swain will be left up by SKT. I think MVP might need to ban it because Pyrion has been playing so much Swain, but they are just going to ban it on the blue side.
Doesn't mean because he's solo queuing it, they've been scrimming at Atlas, and
true.
We did see it well used by MVP. We know it's a multi-flex for MVP, so I don't mind the ban, even though, like you mentioned, doesn't feel great. There's quite a bit left open, so Camille's banned away. When it comes to junglers, the Xin has been a bit of a trap, but is, on paper, very powerful, and with the right duo could work. Lulu has gone up and down in priority. Couldn't really be used by MVP, and that's not rank 2 solo queue hide on bush. That is actually the Aurelia chosen for ostensibly Pyrion, Tal, or Leo.
Yeah, it's a lot of different options for the Aurelia. There's a world where Blossom could theoretically play it in the jungle if he wanted to try.
No.
It used to almost be a thing at that one time. But no, Zoe's going to be locked in here for MVP, and Ian does like making the plays. And also really liked the Sejuani and wants to just run it back. He'll just do that one again.
Surprising, but I guess the Xin Zhao is being seen as a trap. I thought Skarner would be taken in this spot because it's an old favorite of Yondu, and Sejuani is still very exploitable, as we saw in the early game. But he's going to go with a pick that's worked for them. I believe it's 8-2 now all time in the LCK. But Yondu is Blossom going to jump back on the Rengar. We saw Haru win with it. We saw Blossom lose with it. We'll see if the ledger can be stacked one way or the other, as Rengar is around the meta, but usually not over the stuff that's still open.
Well, Leo's, he's going to try his hands at the Ezreal as well. I mean, normally you'd look at SKT and go bang. He'd be the one playing it and you'd be feeling really good about it. But no, it's Leo trying his hand at it this time around.
But I'm a little bit excited, Atlas, because at least that means the Aurelia did something. Because the Aurelia is really good against AD carries, and AD carries being out of the meta. It's one of the reasons that she hasn't been able to be applied so cleanly. So you could think of it as, let's take Aurelia, block AD carries, take an AD carry ourselves, and then see what MVP decide in the second round. MVP need more information. They're not going to be going for a Vlad because they banned it away themselves. But if they do go for an answering Lucian, which may just be banned by SKT, the Aurelia value could go up. So I really do like, in this weird new world that we find ourselves in, when you pick something on the blue side that influences the MVP draft and then fall back and double down on where you got to win. So see how that tracks, but that's my current feeling based on the first round.
Well, Alistair is going to be banned away as the support pool is going to get pinched. Morgana actually going to be banned by SKT as everyone looking down towards that bot lane. I'm looking at Sejuani thinking that that could be a max flex, potentially. Tahm Kench standing out like a sore thumb, though, for MVP.
So an MSI by Hillasang. Didn't win on that day. That was against Kingzone. So Korean team has played against Sejuani support. One of the most normal comments you made all night, Atlas. Thank you for that.
Thanks, man.
Khan banned away from effort. I think he'll go for Soraka, as it is left open in this draft.
Yeah, it's been Fiddlesticks as well. It's been a big pick, so Max could also go back to that one if he wants to. Now left available, but you're right, the Soraka could just be picked straight into it, as the Lucian is going to be the pick up here, and Max considering a little bit more engaged potential down bot.
Now, Cleanse Soraka has been played into Thresh already, and could be taken by effort if he wants to go range support and really beef up the Ezreal laning phase. If the confidence is there, it's a big Janna player is effort, but not a very easy game to play Janna in, so I don't know if this is the one for that.
I do like Ezreal Janna, though, as a lane, as a thought.
Hey, look who's actually made it all the way through. Now, that is peculiar. I had even forgotten that could be a thing, and guess what, Atlas? Just like we're bringing back old nicknames, in Judgment Day, we got a submarine comp going on here with the Rengar.
And MVP didn't notice it. They're not going to be able to take away the Shen, and it's going to be up towards the top side of the map. A very telegraph comp if this Tahm Kench is going to be locked in for SKT, understanding that definitely that Aurelia is going to be the mid lane, and Tahm Ezreal, the Gen G bottom lane, is going to be taken here. SKT, very simplified comp, you know, they've got the front line, they've got the submarine engage option, they've got the Aurelia there, but not a lot of magic damage available unless you count Ezreal as that.
What will the marksman be? He's considering an actual marksman, looking for Pilot's Champion with the last pick. Nothing else fits the bill, and he's going to go Kalista. All right.
Okay, the Kalista Thresh, a strong lane towards the bottom side, and it feels like we're getting more and more standard as this series continues.
It only does everything, you could say, about Kalista Thresh. It's a very versatile lane, but it's against Ezreal Tahm Kench, a very safe lane, and also the threat of Stand United and an invisible Werekitty. So how will that go as things go on? You'd say that Aurelia's going to have a fun time running at Kalista, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
On the side of SKT, we'll see how Pyrian does. He hasn't been spamming Aurelia as much as you might assume. Very interesting drafts. SKT sticking with Team 2, sticking with Judgment Day. An MVP. Gone pretty standard, but for once, does it actually play into the hands of Aurelia, who can run at both a Zoe and Kalista and do her best Mundo impression?
Yeah, and we've got SKT with a lot of global options as well. Stand United as well as Abyssal Voyage. True Shot Barrage going to be able to augment in the long range of the big ram coming in with the Ornhorn. Sorry, that's on the other side of the map. That's going to be the answer here that is pretty much all MVP have as far as globals outside of teleports and things like that.
Now, MVP do have a diverse damage portfolio, and SKT do not, so that is something to remember. On the blue side, will it matter if the Aurelia can skip around and assassinate Zoe or Kalista off her own back? Certainly a lot of assassination potential on the side of SKT.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what SKT are going to be able to offer here, but guys, game number 3, it all comes down to this. SKT T1, T2 to the Rift one more time. No subs up against MVP, same squad as well. Let's do it.
Atlas, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah?
Look at the mid lane. Imagine you can't see the nameplate.
Uh-huh.
How do you know it's not Faker?
Because he's using a skin?
Mm-hmm. Weird to see an SKT mid laner with a skin. That is another thing that has not happened in 887 days, apart from maybe 1 or 2 times he used an SKT skin.
I feel like
I know he didn't use it every time it was up.
Yeah, you got a little bit used to it when it came to EasyHoon. He was the guy that didn't really mind using a skin or 2 here and there.
But that's already a long, long time ago. 2015 is an old data point. A lot of our viewers started watching after 2015.
Almost, you can imagine a lot of people would assume that EasyHoon is a Chinese player because he's been over there playing for quite some time.
His Chinese is very good, to be fair.
Yeah, him and Rookie actually, the players that really embraced their time over in China.
Kalista coming out onto the Rift is a very interesting choice from MVP, but Kalista Thresh needs no introduction. SKT on a late invade.
Yeah,
not going to be spotted.
They will be able to actually launch themselves out of this brush as well as ADD. He's going to get jumped on first. Really nice taunt to come in from Tal as that's going to be Blossom stealing away the red buff. Yondu in a whole host of trouble. Tries to get on the blast cone and makes it as Blossom launches his way in, but good timing to stop that one from coming in there. But Blossom, he can jump on top of ADD right now. Oh, red buff isn't enough. Oh, that's why you pop your pots as ADD is going to be able to get out.
Big benefit from the invade. They get a lot through it. The smite is true from Blossom. Yondu's going to be able to take a single target camp. He's not going to be done completely when it comes to the jungle, but the top side is ruined and a bit of vertical jungling available for SKT.
Yeah, Yondu immediately trying to get down here and take away this Rift Scuttler.
Die Scuttler.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do it quite well, given the fact that he's able to get that permafrost on top. But desperate for level 2 now.
At least we know who's shot calling for SKT. It's Blossom.
Well, he probably often shot calls in the early game, whether they want him to or not, because the guy does like to get a lot of things done. Straight into the mid lane, but not looking for a gank, just looking to transition over towards where his red buff is so he can start brawling.
I don't think he was spotted either. The minion wave had been pushed forward by Aurelia, not that most often. Going to be saying that about an Aurelia versus Zoe lane.
Yep.
But spotted on a ward, they know that Blossom's going to once again, unless a late blue buff invade come in, 3-buff his opponent, Yondu.
Yondu is now over towards his blue buff as well, so that's all he's been able to take. Blossom also not caring too much about losing a blue buff, apart from maybe liking a bit of that CDR. So it's not going to have any of those mana problems or anything like that, because he's a Rengar.
Bit of a repeat situation. ADD has to lane with no summoners, so that's a different thing, but Yondu being on the back was a story in game number 2 as well.
Yeah. Despite never actually dying early game, or in the game at all. And the game on what was it, 208, something like that.
Wasn't in the game at all till he could attack top lane with ADD's Aatrox. Aatrox banned, a very different top lane where it's just bruisers who have no kill pressure. So I think it's going to be about how many people SKT can pack up and send bottom lane, and spoilers, 4 very quickly is definitely the story there.
Yeah, not going to be too difficult to do that. Blossom is going to take down his Krug camp. The bottom lane is getting shoved in here. MVP with control down here. Yondu nowhere near it though, so not going to be wanting to go overly aggressive, and Tahm Kench Ezreal is about the definition of safety.
Run away.
Blossom needs a little bit more safety. Gets in over the top, wants to fight them as they're running away. Coward.
You wouldn't say that to Rengar if you saw him in a dark alley.
Little pop rocks were like trying to get back to their house, man.
I'm just saying.
It's the only time he wanted to fight him.
This is some false courage from you.
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't. I was very scared when I watched Predator for the first time. And I was young when that movie came out, so that's my excuse. Leo and Effort are going to be able to farm this one just fine, even though Pilot and Max are demonstrating why this lane has always been feared. Callista Thresh, a lot of lane presence.
You're joining us late. Yes, the nameplates are correct, but I want to draw your attention to the fact that Pilot hasn't gone for teleport. It is heal, so combat summoner on an AD carry. What world this is.
3 buff is going to be completed on your screen just there, just to keep you guys up to date. So nicely done from Blossom to make sure that all the buffs are going his way. Now Yondu,
he really wants
to be able to get this one.
But, yeah, like you mentioned.
Yep, Tal, does he actually have enough lane pressure as Tal's going to actually leave this one? So taken away, success for MVP.
Amusingly, he had to put down a control ward for us, so he actually comes out pretty even in the gold exchange. But the vision is what it provides, and the experience as well.
Yeah, boosted experience now on this patch since the Scuttle buff. ADD makes his way back top. It has been a Shen-favored lane generally is what people have said in the past as far as Ornn versus Shen is concerned. So Tal like probably wanted it anyway, but we're going to be okay. We kind of
said that about Shen Maokai forever, and it didn't really mean anything outside of 2 games where Shen got a dirty all-in and got a kill.
Yeah.
So you're right, it's a good lane for Shen, but definitely nothing to write home about. I think it's
some
more
inverted commas, potentially.
Yeah, I agree. I think the inverted commas Generation Y thing is happening there, but what it does mean is that Pilot and Max, who really want to play aggressively, because getting Callista Thresh out of lane first, if you get the bot lane turret and Thresh can roam, and Callista feels very happily in a lane, there's a lot of merit in that. If you're behind as Callista Thresh, it often falls apart very early. Having the ability to pack up and send the Shen and Rengar and have this fearsome engage duo to complement Ezreal Tahm Kench is the real win you get there. Shen is going to be pretty able to find space to go at least even in the lane, go Tiamat and push in. And then from there, it's going to be all about the bot lane. For once, we're going to be able to focus on the bot lane and piling on to the AD carry, and not just the AD. No awesome dudes, but actually AD carries on the bot side is suddenly what's old is new again.
Exactly. We have been regressing as far as the meta is concerned here on 8.11. We will repeat one more time that no smite is allowed on Karthus and Talia, but in goes SKT. For a little bit more of a ruckus down here, but we'll just find themselves a control ward and not a lot doing as far as that is concerned. There's also a Vladimir skin ban, but we don't really worry about that one too much.
Stealing away our material from our next series champion, Select Atlas. We do have another series after this one. Second of the day on Super Wednesday. We do have Gen G playing in our final series of the day in a pretty competitive one against Humble Life Esports.
Yeah, Humble Life Esports actually falling against Griffin in their first match, meaning that their score didn't necessarily look very good, but it almost looked like they could have been a team to start off towards the top of the table as well.
Is Pyrion someone who can look like Faker on the Aurelia?
Well, the ultimate is going to come out. He's going to do his very best, as that Trouble Bubble was fantastic. The Ignite is ticking down. Ian goes back in for some reason. He just gets W'd to death. There's the stun, but Pyrion not wanting to dive the turret, and First Blood goes to Blossom.
Looks like he would have gone down anyways. Leo had the ultimate in good position, but did look a bit strange. Maybe he was burning down. Didn't see the damage calculation. Still, SKT attack mid lane. First Rengar ultimate, the throw of the hunt does get a kill. Good signs for SKT.
Yeah, it was really nice. The Ignite, I think, had just timed out when Ian jumped back in there. He may have thought that he was going to die to the Ignite anyway, but to me, it looked like he was possibly able to get out of there, but you'll never know. Hindsight's 2020.
We'll put our thinking caps on shortly when we get a replay on that one, as ADD's hit level 7, so he's able to blow pretty hard with his Bellows Breath.
Yeah, Bellows Breath, bit of a problem this effort. Taken down to about 200 health, and he has to get the hell out of there. Leo does need to be careful. His hook not going to land, but it's going to be Arcane Shift on cooldown at least.
Putting away camps off spawn is Blossom, who has been relentlessly aggressive so far, and his fortunes were the biggest difference between Game 1 and Game 2. Popped off on Camille, well held on Xin Zhao. He's gone Tiamat, so this guy wants to be brawling.
Well, there's the Abyssal Voyage, as SKT may have gone a little bit too keen on that particular map movement.
It was a good map movement, but Zoe actually thought better of playing around the bot side, pulled back, and then it looked comical. Yeah. Can't be hindsight about everything, Atlas.
Hey, that's true. That is true. Not deciding to go for that blue buff because it was not there as well as Yondu did provide him with that information. But with that wave shoved up, they weren't too worried about it, as they just get themselves back. Going to go all that. Back being stopped is actually relatively important. Might deny Pilot some creeps.
There were some double wards in his bot side, so they had perfect information there. Warding been really good for SKT, and kind of expected when Rengar was basically counter-jungling the entire game. Battle warding even, as ADD going for one of those.
Oh, the flash was nice. Not going to get the knock-up, but that is just a flash in a 1v1. Exactly not what you want to be doing.
Ornn is always able for those dirty solo kills in lanes you wouldn't expect, so
yeah,
does very well here, does ADD.
Well, now Effort actually looking to create a nuisance of himself, but this is going to be a problem. Going to get the Devour, in fact, onto the Thresh, as he's going to get pulled back. So MVP, absolutely fine, and they buy enough time to get themselves a dragon. But now, can anything come back off this? Pyrion, nice stun is going to come in. Now going to cop a little bit of poke on the way through, but MVP otherwise not going to be able to get anything, and just the dragon going over to SKT.
Very peculiar teleport coming through from ADD with no ultimate available. Not sure about that one. Threads the needle on the Trouble Bubble. Nicely done by Ian.
W going to nullify a bit of the damage there, but I think that it actually fell off, as Ian is going to land a bit of damage on top of the Aurelia.
Should damage a lot of times.
Damage. I mean, there is a lot of damage in that lane, so you can say damage a few times.
A lot of Tiamats side of SKT.
AoE damage.
And pushing. Got to push in to Ornn, who just has to press W. A lot less gameplay there.
Yeah, a bit of more clear as well for the Rengar, which I like.
Pyrion
had been doing this a bit.
Pyrion had pre-buffered his W. As we mentioned, in the mid lane you do go W second, because it gives you a second line wave clear ability. And also, trading and damage reduction against the Zoe, a pretty happy thing.
Now, Ian was considering just using his Super Soaker, but out of range of Pyrion just there. He was just going to happily farm underneath this turret.
This is a game, unlike many others this season, that Irelia can take over. Pyrion, if he keeps hitting his farm, getting kills, he is in a really good spot to take over the game. He is fantastically effective against threats like Kalista and Zoe. He can 1-3-1 and no one can match him.
Moment, getting ganked in mid lane, has to use his flash, and now SKT with full vision are going to get spotted on this Rift Herald. So now MVP actually getting a huge tempo advantage from this. They're able to pressure SKT out. Can they actually get anything back here is the question.
The US teleport. Kalista would have to walk up and Abyssal Voyage available, so MP need to be decisive.
Yep, Yondu has a lot of burst damage with the Permafrost as well as his smite available. Pyrion, he's going to get in here. Now going to be able to take it down. I'm not quite sure who managed to pick up the Rift Herald, but that may not be the problem here as ADD has to flash to get himself out. There's the flash in from Blossom, but immediately gets exhausted as Effort does land the slow from the Licky Tongue, and Max gets a decent play to come back in here. As there's the boot back. ADD actually going to focus here on Tal, but the first kill is going to go over to MVP. It's a dive gone wrong for SKT as Effort wants to get Pyrion out of here, but Yondu, great positioning, and the cleanup is going to ensue. Max is a god on the Thresh, and Effort's going to go down as well. Leo, he's down here for SKT, but he could not affect that fight whatsoever as Ian, he's going to grab himself the Rift Herald, and MVP turn it all on its head.
Another one of those turret dives from Blossom. He giveth, he taketh away. We said it a few times, it can only be so apt. Watching this all, big flash actually from AD gets him away from the disarm. The ultimate from the Irelia doesn't register, and the turret dive looks oh so tasty. However, Blossom, that's Max with everything up, including a Zhonya's effect on the stasis. He goes into stasis, everyone's out of position. Effort hopes to evacuate. Evacuate he cannot do. They clean it up, they even get the Rift Herald. Leo couldn't keep them away from that objective. MVP, first meaningful lead of the game.
Yep, really nicely done, and MVP have an opportunity now to get this Sejuani to a point where she's going to be relevant. It felt a little bit like a 4v5 in the early game, so now MVP on a great footing to get themselves moving forward. Man, Max's Thresh was just beautiful to watch in that last fight.
SKT need to be able to play 1-3-1 League of Legends to win this game. I think if they can play the 1-3-1 without significant mistakes, big if, then I think they have this one because they have more options in how to close the game out, and because Irelia is so set up for success. Come on, just kill that damn blue buff. However, it is also Judgment Day, Team 2, 4 subs. Whatever way you want to split it, it is not the roster with loads of experience. So will they be able to pull off the 1-3-1? The healthiest amount of skepticism on that. And I think MVP's engage is so strong as mid lane.
Yep, they are looking for more. The disarm does come in, and immediately Ian just pops Yondu, unable to get there in time, and now he's going to have to get pulled back with the Lantern. Thankfully, the Dark Passage Ride is there to help him, but now mid lane out of turret, completely exposed, and SKT are going to fight one back.
They don't have a Rift Herald, but they're going to try and load in on it on ult just to get them off.
Yeah, ADD does get the slow onto Blossom, though, who does have the ultimate in there, but he's just going to get ulted by Yondu. Effort going to keep him alive, but now can MVP get some sort of re-engage? I don't think so, and they're not wanting to go for it either.
Again, the on ult was mostly to zone them away from the turret and keep it healthy rather than a true engage. They weren't going to fully commit. By time for the Zoe to respawn. SKT still walking up.
Yeah, some aggression there, but Yondu with a good smite button is going to be able to take away the big Raptor. Another wave to deal with here for MVP, but thankfully they do have members around. SKT going to try their luck on the bottom side of the map.
ADD will not have ult. Actually, it should respawn about the same time as the Drake. Looking at the timers there.
Yep.
Carl used Stand United through this. It does have teleport to come in, but less threat with it. Item timings need to also be discussed. Almost a Trinity Force, almost a Mana Moon, almost a recall for Effort. Let's see what happens with the Drake. First one went the way of SKT. The Mountain coming in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. So, of course, ADD now with the 20% CDR. Actually, I was with you on that one. I was like, oh, but the Ornhorn's going to be down, but already having 20% CDR helps at 15 minutes into the game. He's 0-0-3 now, so we'll be able to certainly be very impactful given the lead that he does have. I like it a lot, but so far it's been so blow for blow on both sides. We know that MVP really just likes to fight, and this new SKT roster really looking like they're more than happy to brawl, led of course by Blossom in that department.
And a game win for SKT kind of looks one way. It's 2 Trinity Forces completed in the next few minutes. They fight, they win a team fight from that. Pyrion starts split pushing, and that's how the game is won. Whereas for MVP, it's about their strong engage, catching a pick on SKT, trying to be too cute, or SKT fighting before their items are done. And that being the start of a great siege comp from MVP, largely around the Zoe. It almost feels like with a sliding doors situation. I mean, it could go either way. League of Legends at its best is a lot about that. They put down the Rift Herald just to give SKT another thing to think about. A lot of headaches here.
Yep, Trouble Bubble is going to land there as well as Effort does have the grey health. They're going to start this fight for real as Pyrian's trying to dance around it as Yondu's in the back. Nice knock-up, and means that Blossom isn't going to be able to get anything done. The Ornn tanks up very nicely, and now Leo, he's in trouble. MVP closing in on the mid lane as Shelly got her work done as well. The turret getting taken down. Ian, huge effort. So that is going to be the spin out the last tick. That's going to do it. Calculated from the mid laner of MVP.
Nicely done by MVP. They give up ADD, who dies in the backline, but he'd already done his CC combo. They didn't need him. They're going to be able to turn onto the Drake as well, and in many ways, they get everything.
Yep, that's exactly what ADD wanted to do. We know him as the tank player. He's on the tank, and he's doing his job. He was actually taking up 4 people at that time, I believe.
And this is where SKT had so many things they could do and think about. The Rift Herald came down, and instantly the call was, we got first control over the Drake. We need to deal with the Rift Herald. The CC duo comes in, but the moment that you see the Tahm Kench not pop, this could have been the moment for MVP. MVP have ADD slowly die while they take down Blossom, who sadly is not with his team at all. Very nice poke onto Leo. Very nice cleanup by Ian as well. We mentioned that SKT, could they wait for their Trinity Forces and their moment? They do not. They lose this team fight before those are down because MVP put down the Rift Herald to make things complicated. And through the complication, MVP finds strength.
Yeah, very nicely done. Not to mention Shelly also getting the work done while it was all going on. But double Trinity Force, like you're indicating to me, Papa, has now been completed by SKT.
But there's nothing to fight for with the double Trinity Force. That's the problem, is that if they had it those moments earlier, all those little hits going to be hitting oh so much harder. Without them, and with Stand United on cooldown, things don't go as well for the side of SKT. It's all about timings, and MVP added that extra pressure with the Rift Herald that did not play to SKT's strength.
Yeah, it does mean that the gold is entirely even. Remember, the early game was all about SKT. MVP clawing things back, even on Dragons as well. The turrets being completely equal, but both being out isn't really too much of a problem here either.
We need to see the Rengar Shen. We need to see Rengar Shen into the face of Zoe. That's usually what you want to do here. Try to corral her. Bot lane.
Yeah, in goes Max, actually gets a decent playback, but of course, the Devour is available. Now the fight is going to come in as SKT just take the backdoor. Pilot does have the ultimate available, but Max not going to be able to get too much done. Nice hook is going to take Tal underneath the turret, and the knock up there as well. We're going 1-for-1. Ultimate from Yondu as well as MVP. They want some more. That hook onto Leo was god tier as Ian should be able to get him on the way through. It's Yondu that grabs the kill, and now SKT running for the hills.
The double cleanup crew, first by SKT, then by MVP. But MVP galloped through. Ian hits a max range Trouble Bubble. They clean up from there. Max is popping off on the Thresh in ways that didn't look likely after the early game. Goodbye bot lane turret. Again, MVP just about sneak ahead. You watch the replay. Pilot dies first, and you say, okay, this is the time. First hook hits, Ornn ult comes down. Shen's dying, we know that already. But you think, okay, that's over, a 1-for-1. They first CC onto Blossom, and then Max gets his cooldown back. He's with Max in his Q first. And that works out very well for them. Nicely done, and skill shot accuracy, advantage MVP.
Oh yeah, looking really, really good. The Trouble Bubbles landing as well, and Yondu, the way that he was able to utilize the Winter's Wrath was actually really nice. Getting the multiple slow onto a lot of different people.
And let us reiterate, at perhaps the strongest point for 5v5s for SKT, they did lose. With Trinity Force, double Trinity Force down.
They got the fight they were looking for, yeah.
They definitely did. The Muramana also, not quite available, but close to, I'm sure, stacking up slowly. Time from Leo. Game is certainly not over. Pyrian is still putting together some fearsome items. Not spotted is Thresh, but also not looking to go forwards. The damage coming out from Ezreal is... What is it with tanks this season?
I know, right? Thankfully Ezreal's there to do a bit of damage on his side, but ADD's just been bellowing that fire. Been working out. Of course, he is the Iceborne Gauntlet build, so a little bit more damage on his side. He's been able to get right in amongst it to get a lot of people to be burning with that one.
Speaking of getting amongst it, Max has gone for the I'm going to suicide in and then provide Zeke's convergence for my Kalista build.
I like it.
This was a big favorite of Lahen's when he was with Griffin in Challenger last season. Just basically Zeke's convergence and everything, which to some degree is the meta, but for Thresh, who usually wants to hold his ult a bit longer, this is very much initiation Thresh.
Good reaction there as ADD going for the 1v1 once again. Tal actually taking
wins this
so
matchup,
much
sorry?
damage. I'm pretty sure it's on here, but the Redemption is going to come in, trying to pick up the kill for Ian, in fact, but not going to quite get there. It's going to be Tal getting out, and he still has his flash, in fact, so obviously Shen wins the matchup proper. I don't know.
Shen doesn't really have any items, kind of a problem.
Yeah.
He has Titanic Hydra situation, or just finished the Raptor Cloak as we speak, so he's a little bit naked when it comes to the tank fights.
Yeah, in comparison to the 2 completed items that ADD does have. Thankfully for the Shen, doesn't have any mana anymore.
The same ADD who entered lane with no summons.
Oh, here it is.
Just
Does survive. Here it does get the reset as the disarm comes through as well. He's so slippery on this Aurelia, and Yondu is going to go down. It's everyone invested to try and grab this, though, as Ian, we'll see whether he's got enough wave clear to keep this turret alive.
Does everyone invested mean Baron at 22 minutes? First instinct is no. Ian trying to hold this mid lane turret. They'll finally get it at 23 minutes.
Yep. Only 1 caster creep remains, but it is going to be enough in order to secure it. 2-item spike is now in for Pilot as well, so we're talking about items. That is going to be an important one. We've got Knight's Vow as well as the Zeke's Convergence, so a lot of buffing onto Pilot potentially this game.
Probably going to double stack on him like you mentioned, given he does the consistent damage, so we'll see if that means that Blossom and Tal can make short work of Zoe.
Well, certainly still a lot up in the air. Both of these teams feel like they have very different plans in mind for how this late game is going to go. MVP's going to be a little bit more towards let's get the team fights, and SKT, like you say, they need to learn how to 1-3-1. But one thing MVP do have is Baron secure. The Rend is always something you have to talk about there, and MVP, what do they like? They like taking Baron.
They also have insane Baron turn of Orin Ultimate and Sejuani. Speaking of ultimates.
Yeah, they are going to be able to pick up effort. He's slowed down forever, as well as Ian's going to be able to grab that kill. Now the Ornhorn comes down. They look for just one target, and Pyrion has to flash to get himself out of the way. No play targets there for Max, and he is just going to get taken down. It's now Blossom. Massive amounts of AoE in this fight. Huge knockup is going to come down, though, as now Pilot should be able to clean this one up. Ian comes forward. Can he find another one? Leo in trouble. Ian wants to get out and does have his stopwatch. Gets himself back, and that's just looking fancy here for the mid laner of MVP.
Hearts in the mouths for both squads. Everyone screaming in the East Stadium. It goes the way of MVP because through all of it, while the health bars were falling low of MVP, one person stood supreme. That was Pilot free hitting with Hurricane. The amplification of damage on the Zeke's Convergence and the Blade of the Ruin King and Kalista, the Ren set was real.
It was, and people aren't used to it as well, Papa. We haven't experienced Kalista for a very long time. She was a fringe pick last season for a couple of people, but otherwise, just not used to having to deal with it as Max starts the fight beautifully yet again.
Who's winning was a constantly updated moment. They kill effort, he gets picked, think, okay, it's free time for MVP. They get Shen by accident after the dodge comes through, but the re-engage happens. You see how low ADD the rest of the team are getting. The dogpile happens, but watch Pilot free hitting the knockup for more time to free hit the Rend reset as well. That was a seesaw of a team fight that went the way of MVP. As Ian right at the end, bit of fancy stuff. That was some Dalsim stuff right there.
It certainly
Yoga was on fire as
we got another fight actually coming in here. Oh, look at the timepiece as well. Ian really making sure that he gets the nicest one in the shop.
Kalista damage is real. What's old is new again. The situation, it turns out.
It's been interesting today with how this series has gone, especially. Sally's going for the split push. This is what we wanted him to do. Does have himself the Banner of Command. Chuck it on that cannon to help them out. But ADD, he's going to come down towards the bottom side. Clear that one. MVP now wanting to grab their fourth turret of the game.
Ian fought the Ornn upgraded Zonius. I guess
that's what I just said, yeah.
He may have had 1,000 gold and wanted to buy something. The only other reason to do is it resets the cooldown of Zonius, but I think it's been 90 seconds since the last bit of action happened.
Yeah, it doesn't really need to worry about that one.
Come on, Max!
There's another hook from Max, exactly right. Effort in trouble, but that's going to be the dive from Pyrian. Can he actually get the resets on the Blade Surge this time? He does have a huge shield from the Sterix, but Pilot once again, there's nothing they can do. Renset after Renset, and the Callista is going off. That's the triple. Can he get the Quadra? His Blossom is so low, but no, he'll have to settle for the turret. Leo, you have to be real careful as there's the Lantern Ride. Max takes a lot of damage, and now MVP. This is the MVP way. They want to take a Baron.
Seems like it's Judgment Day in Hook City, as Hook City is popping off over here by Max. They're all very low. They have Secure. What does it mean?
Yeah, well, the Ornn ultimate is going to come through, wants to find it. Leo gets the Q after the Arcane Shift, and now MVP is so incredibly low. The Secure, of course, is going to be there, but it feels like Leo might be able to just pick them off. Yondu wants it. Ian is going to pop himself out of there as the trouble bubble has come through. Now Blossom, can he get some work done? Can they find him? They certainly can, as there's a control ward there, but Leo not going to overcommit onto this.
Correct thing to do there, as Leo is so hard to say. Results-orientated analysis. Max is just popping off the most. If I have one criticism of Effort as a player, is he dies too much, he gets picked too much, and at the start of this, that pick leads, and from there, Pilot has another fight where he's able to walk around, free target acquisition. If they're not getting on top of Zoe or Pilot, what are they doing, you ask SKT? This is not the 1-3-1 we discussed. They're trying to out-team fight, but finding ways to close down the distance on Zoe and the Callista becomes a problem when Zonians will be up, and Pilot has gone double lifesteal for the I just need to outlast the backline dive.
Yeah, and the Fate's call was just absolutely amazing from Pilot. Max got a triple knock-up, and I believe ADD was able to get one as well, utilizing his Q and the dash. But, oh man, the CC in these fights from MVP is beautiful.
Callista build has evolved again. Last Callista we saw in competitive play was Prey in MSI, but it looks like we're going to see the Rageblade 4th item here with that second recurve bow. Could be a couple of things, but Rageblade for the double stacking of the spears is an old favorite.
And all the more lifesteal as well to come down from the much cheaper Bloodthirster as well as the Blade of the Ruin King. I like it, but Pilot's just, he's stacking on the items, stacking on the damage, and we'll be able to take down this inhibitor very easily after that Baron. Blossom's doing some solo Q Rengar stuff in the enemy jungle. And we're looking to just try and win the game yet again. Another hook! But that's not going to be followed up, as Effort does have the Devourer available.
At least proxy the minion wave. Nope, okay.
Not going to do that either. He was pinging top lane, as he thought that maybe his team would be able to actually defend. But remember, this is a very, very healthy cannon that's out of the range of a lot of people here. Thankfully for SKT, they're able to devour it and spit it out towards the turret, I believe.
Well, he's going to be spotted, coming over control ward as well. There's another hook!
Another hook onto Pyrian this time, as now we've got ADD throwing in the Ornn. Blossom finally arrives in the fight, but he's trying to find Pilot, who's at full health. He's able to get these Rensets. Another kill comes in, as that's the double. No, it's going to be Max locking down that kill as Blossom. You are definitely dead. It's another one. A double in here for the Callista. Pilot having a field day behind all of the CC. Another goddamn hook, and a quadra kill will be coming down. That's it for Pilot. Max is a god, and MVP are going to topple SKT.
Judgment Day can't get over the line, and Judgment Day for SKT. It's another fail. It's another loss, this time to MVP. They had the excuses in week 1 of strength of schedule. This week they get creative with the roster, and now the fans, after the loss, will pile in, they'll pile on, and you can understand why. The question is, we still don't really know the answer of, was this the right move? Because you don't give a chance for Faker Bang and friends to play themselves into forming as an MVP team, especially in Game 1. Looked and drafted pretty poor. You give your players a chance, and there was some glimmers from Leo in Game 1, from the other players over the series, but Pyrian's never going to replace Faker. So the question is, what did we learn, and what does it mean for their next game in a couple of days? And the answer is, not really that much in a clean fashion. The scientific method can't really be applied. So you see Coma, he walks in, he should be proud of the players in general. Yeah. They put out a respectable performance, but SKT isn't about respectable performances, and SK Telecom don't pick up the victory.
Yeah, the early game was definitely good. You can see Blossom, he's looking a bit dejected. The map decision in that late game fight was just straight up not good, but this is the last fight here. Blossom gets in there, but
So the theory
What's he gonna
behind
do?
Blossom, when not grouping, you understand, right? Is that I'm Rengar, I can't do much. He should proxy the minion wave because the minion wave doesn't have Baron till it gets to an ally of MVP. He could have cleared out the minion wave and they couldn't have extended the siege forever. Instead, he does everything but that, groups, and by then Pilot, with all the lifesteal in the world, was just unkillable.
Yep. And he got his pentakill denied by Max, but honestly, if anyone deserves to deny anything this game, it is Max. He was hitting back-to-back hooks in team fights like it was a targeted ability.
So the thing that you go back and you want to see the percentage counter for the hooks.
Oh, yeah.
If we had an observer on him all game, if we could get the single observation of Max, maybe there's a stream out there somewhere in Riot headquarters, I think that percentage would be around 70%. So that's pretty damn good.
Just
on screen,
ludicrous.
it was like a 90%. As Pilot put out a lot of damage, but turns out Poke beats all in all the time.
That's how it works. It's back to the Ezreal Varus days when you've got Zoe on the team, able to throw out Paddle Stars and do it from relative safety there as well. 24,000 damage.
And if Max wins MVP, maybe the shout out to Max Life. Because if you remember the story, Atlas,
Yeah.
Max was the protege
He was.
of Mad Life. He watched Mad Life on CJ. It was Max and Trick as the sub-squad for CJ Entus in 2015. He knows all about Mad Life, and on this day, Mad Life has officially announced his retirement. The Faker before Faker, I would say the second most famous Korean player of all time, the second most influential as well. But we'll hold on to Mad Life for a moment because Max does not win the MVP. ADD, who got the initiations off, will win.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not, Ian just for the fact that he did all of the damage. ADD had a great performance. The Ornhorns were brilliant. I mean, I don't think it holds a candle personally to what Max was offering with the hooks, but still played absolutely fantastic.
Look, I voted for Max. We are an OGN.
I mean, yeah, we definitely
both
both
did.
did,
So,
yeah.
Korean casters, journalists, don't know what you were thinking, but ADD had a good game. MVP had a good game. We're focused on the SKT narrative. What we can say about ADD is he doesn't look like the same player who so often for MVP has been a passenger. So often has been, well, I didn't do too much wrong, but never invited a lot to actually be the carry himself. Carry performance on the Aatrox, good, strong performance, entering lane with no flash or teleport on the Ornn. It may be back on the tanks, but it was much improved from ADD, paying off his high-ranking solo queue play.
Yeah, and that 4-man knockup was absolutely god tier as we got the layering upon layering after the Fate's call, and then ADD putting his on top as well, meaning that Pilot just had the greatest time ever.
Turns out that if both lifesteal items are buffed, turns out that, Draven and now Kalista could still see some play.
Oh yeah.
Happy about this new marksman class. See if it becomes a trend.
I think it might take off. But of course, suffering a little bit at the hands of the Hurricane nerf, so as far as the price of that one is concerned. So things balancing out a little bit for Kalista. But guys, we are going to have this MVP interview, not going to be able to talk to the new SKT, but MVP now finding a victory and will find themselves an interview as well. So let's throw it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your second, not the last, interview translations for the night. And we're here with MVP picking up a win against SK Telecom T2, and we're going to hear from the boys. This is from the MVP. Let's see how they felt. It's first time in a long time for you guys to say hi to the fans in Sangam. After losing game one, we thought that we were going to lose, but felt great to win, but we always like to thank the fans because they always come out to support us, and no matter where we may be. And I feel like today we definitely were able to beat out SKT, so it felt great to get that for the fans here. And for ADD, you want to say something? It's my first time after a long time, so it's great to be here again. Definitely wasn't an easy game for you guys in terms of how the series kind of went against you guys in game number one, and feels like the preparation, we thought it would have been ready for the side of MVP. Anything like to say to that? I mean, we were looking towards the solo queue ranking and also past history, just looking at what they would probably play, especially in the scrims, and they told us that they weren't going to play us in scrims and that the time didn't match up, and we just didn't know what would happen there, so a little bit of less information there. So And you guys saw SK Telecom with a brand new set of members and definitely were aggressive in the way they approached game one. What was the feedback after that game? I mean, beyond what they did, it was most of what we did in terms of mistakes and a lot of things that we could have limited. So we wanted to do that in the next game, and for game two, we were just focused on trying to do our part better instead of worrying too much about our opponents. And that's what we gave for the feedback here. And now you did reduce that mistakes, and you talk about limiting them for game two. We're gonna see an example of how that was reduced for a better MVP. And it was a tough moments in the first few moments in this game too, and Yondu, you were just way over and just trying to get the game going. And what was the discussion right here? I mean, from the early game, we were trying to just camp the top end, trying to see what we can do, and I had a lot of jungle routing, jungle pathing that allowed me to hit in top lane many times. So I just felt like, you know, whenever the ward wasn't there, we just went for the ganks pretty aggressively there. And we just felt it was important because not many champions left in that jungle role, but you picked the Sejuani. It was mostly up to the head coach's decision. He felt like the Sejuani was on a good day today, so, and he felt like I was on a good day today, so entrusted me with that pick. And it feels like Sejuani isn't the most top tier in terms of the jungle rankings, but do you feel like it will come back to top tier very soon? I mean, you're right. I mean, because compared to the best junglers out there right now, Sejuani isn't the best champion to go with. But you know, after level 6, that's where the story changes, and you know the ultimate usage and basically making the best utilization out of that just still makes Sejuani a valid pick in that aspect. Of course, so you have to survive till level 6 and try to do well, and that's gonna be the important thing for Sejuani. And ADD, you were definitely all in the mix there, and with the Aatrox, with the Ornn as well, just putting wonderful performances, and we're going to see an example of that from game 3, how you did so well. And you really had a tough time all over that top lane. It just feels like everything that came through, we thought you were Malphite for a minute there, and you're just knocking up everyone here. I mean, you gotta try to raise your solo queue points, and the way to do that, you have to fight well. But just me trying to do well today, I think that was kind of what contributed to the win today. And before we started the summer split, ADD was way up there in the solo queue rankings. And how do you feel like that has helped you out a little bit? I mean, we're seeing a lot of other players in solo queue rankings, but you know, me trying to do well just gives me that confidence to do well as well. I mean, Yondu, you see him playing at top as a jungler. I think he does just about right. Anything you want to say in terms of how the other teammates have been doing in the solo queue? You know all about that. I mean, getting a good score in solo queue is it's good that, you know, whenever we have one less game, and it just allows for easier and more stress-free gaming. So I'm sure Yondu knows all about that as well. So at least play more games if you're not going to get the rankings, is what ADD is kind of inferring here. Sure, it's going to be interesting to see how the decision-making changes with that in terms of priority within the team. And it just felt like the airborne was kind of the key word there. Just felt like ADD really just understands Ornn maybe a little bit better than a lot of the other top laners out there. Just felt like other than Israel, all of the champions had to be in the melee range to do anything, and I knew that just waiting for that right time to get the airborne on was kind of what I was strategizing before going into this one. We saw the Kalista coming in at the last time. We just felt like something that was experimented, maybe with an MVP as a champion in ADC right now. It's something that Pilot likes to play personally, and we saw it in scrims, and he did pretty well with it. So we thought it would be trustworthy to go with that pick this time around. And now, we are talking about the aggressive entries in terms of how you guys want to approach the games themselves. And I feel like MVP's composition in Game 3 was a little bit aggressive, kind of unconventional to what we usually are at MVP. How do you feel like, especially the use of the Callista? How did that come about? In the first game, we knew that, and second game as well. We thought that getting ganked on top and trying to pull the advantages slowly, but we were trying to just focus on Game 3 with teamfight in mind, and as long as we got good teamfight, which had confidence to do, we knew we would beat the other opponent team there. I mean, talk about Orange Sejuani there as well, but the others all in the mix helps pretty much as well. And with team fights, you've seen very much a big turnaround in terms of how the team fight goes well. Then you can turn on the game in an instant. And we thought that at one point that the game was running away from you guys for a bit there, of course with the team fights happening around. And we were kind of saddened by the fact that we lost our characteristic of how do we approach the team fight. So we're trying to regain that and find that for ourselves. And how do you want to be remembered, especially as a player and also as a team as well? The best thing is that you want to be the best top laner, and I think that's something that goes with not just me but everyone else. And now we, as a team, we just want to be as a fighter team that does team fights very well, and MVP, our team wants to be remembered as that. We're trying to just definitely reach towards that. Along with the solo queue points, your talking points have gone up as well, looking very high up in the rankings on that one. Yeah, I can definitely feel the downfall there. Definitely the confidence is there. Just felt like the games weren't easy for you guys in this series, but you did win out versus SK Telecom. Of course, you guys had to go through a lot of struggles and lots of turns in turn to get to the stage. Now you guys are doing very well for yourself. We always like to thank our fans for the continued support, and of course, more recently, I think personally, as an individual, I've been performing less to my standard, and even through that, I thank you guys for your support, and we'll try to do better so that we can feel happy about ourselves with our performances as well. That was a feel-good MVP. Of course, now you have the top points with ADD. Anything you want to say to your teammates as well? Kind of motivational talk here. We are only at 2 wins, so we know that we have to practice a lot more to get to where we want to be. And along with scrims, I'm trying to do well, and being as a team, moving as a team, should do as well. And then, you know, the more we go up, I think everything will be fine for us, so we're not too worried about that part. Of course, relishing the taste of victory for Team MVP, getting their second win. Really just knocking away the consecutive losses. Now they seem to be on a winning streak. See if they can do that as we conclude the interview, and we're going to throw it back to you guys for the rest of this.
Thank you very much, Joel, for the interview translation. Great to hear from both EDD and Yondu.
EDD's sounding more and more confident, which is good to see. His confident play was one of the highlights of game number 2, and also a better speaker. Turns out, if you're doing well in solo queue, people dig that ELO, so it's good to see him propping up. An MVP in general, we're the better team here. We really don't know too much about where SKT is at. They did run a new roster. Will they run this roster again as a 5? Maybe never. We don't know. Yeah. I imagine we will see Faker Bang and friends back next time, but MVP now have 2 match wins, and SKT, who've only played 3 matches, still struggling to find that first match win.
Yeah, and MVP taking down SKT is actually a big deal here because their other victories against BBQ, but they've suffered losses against Griffin and Gen G. Gen G, the team that we are going to be seeing right after this break. It is going to be about 20 minutes. We just need to reset everything, and then we're going to be back into it ASAP, but it'll be around 8 p.m. KST anyway, so not the massive break that we had before this series that we just concluded.
And it's with Gen G, our world champions, who finally are living up to that name in 2018. It's kind of been an ironic title for them. They've played excellently. Fly has fit in the mid lane. It will be starting again. If they can just overpower Hanwha, make them look like an average team, and Hanwha are actually hovering around 5th, hovering around playoffs, that'd be a big statement game for Gen G.
Yeah, certainly able to get things done. But guys, yeah, short break, and then we're going to be back, and we're going to be able to find out all of these questions, Papa, so we'll see you guys then. Coming up next, Gen G, Hanwha Life Esports, 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Summer Split.